My name is Margaret Wilson, and for most of my life, I believed that love meant sacrifice. Not the poetic kind people post about online.
The real kind.
The kind that empties your savings, swallows your pride, and leaves you standing alone in the cold still hoping you did the right thing. I am 63 years old.
I raised 3 children.
And a year ago, I sold the house I had lived in for 32 years, to help them. I never imagined that the same children I sacrificed everything for would one day look me in the eyes at Christmas and say, "Sorry. This is a private event. But I am getting ahead of myself." Before I tell you how I ended up standing on a snow-covered driveway, holding a small gift bag with nowhere to go, let me start from the beginning. And before we begin, if you believe stories like this matter, if you've ever been torn between loving your children and protecting yourself, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe. Someone listening might need to hear this more than you think. The house wasn't fancy. A modest 2-story place in a quiet suburb of Ohio. White siding. A maple tree out front that turned the most beautiful shade of red every fall. That house held everything. My husband Richard and I bought it when I was pregnant with our second child.
We painted the nursery ourselves.
We measured the kids' heights on the kitchen wall. We hosted birthdays, graduations, and messy Thanksgiving dinners. Richard passed away 8 years ago. Cancer doesn't ask how much you've already lost. After he died, the house felt too big and too quiet. But it was mine. Paid off. Secure. My safety. Or so I thought. It started with phone calls.
My eldest son, Daniel, called first.
"Mom," he said, voice tight, "I'm in trouble." He and his wife had taken out a risky loan for a business that never recovered after the pandemic. Bills were piling up. Creditors calling. "I don't know who else to ask," he said. A week later, my daughter Emily called. Her husband had lost his job. They were behind on their mortgage. Their youngest needed dental surgery. And then my youngest, Ryan, called. "Mom,
I hate to ask,
but rent just went up. I might have to move."
3 children.
3 emergencies. 1 mother. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, hearing Richard's voice in my head. "You always said you'd do anything for them." I did the math. I had some savings. But not enough. There was only one thing worth real money. The house. When I told them I was considering selling the house, they protested at first. "No, Mom, that's too much. You don't have to do that.
We'll figure something out."
But none of them said no twice. Within weeks, the idea became a plan. Daniel helped me contact a realtor. Emily suggested downsizing. Ryan said, "You don't need that much space anyway." They weren't wrong. I told myself this was temporary. That family sticks together.
That when you fall, your children catch you the way you once caught them.
The house sold faster than I expected.
I remember standing in the empty living room on the final day. The walls echoed.
The floors creaked without furniture to soften the sound. I ran my hand along the doorway where the kids' heights were marked, now painted over by the new owners. I cried in my car afterward. But I told myself, this is what love looks like. The money disappeared quickly. Daniel's business debts swallowed a huge portion. Emily's mortgage arrears and medical bills took another chunk. Ryan needed help with deposits and moving costs. I didn't keep receipts. I didn't ask for agreements. They were my children. By the time everything was settled, I had just enough left to rent a small 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't terrible. But it wasn't home.
I slept on a second-hand bed.
I cooked with one small pot. I told myself comfort was overrated. What mattered was that my kids were okay.
That's what parents do.
In early December, Daniel called. "We're hosting Christmas this year," he said.
Big family thing.
My heart lifted. For the first time in months, I felt chosen. "That sounds lovely," I said. "What can I bring?" "Just yourself," he laughed. "And maybe one of your pies."
Emily texted later.
"Can't wait to see you, Mom. The kids are excited." Ryan called too.
"You coming early?"
he asked.
"Traffic might be bad."
I marked the date on my calendar in red.
Christmas mattered to me.
Not the gifts. Not the decorations. The feeling of belonging. Money was tight. But I still wanted to bring something. So I bought small gifts, thoughtful, not expensive. Hand-knit scarves for the grandkids. A framed photo of Richard for Daniel. A cookbook Emily once mentioned loving. I wrapped them carefully in my tiny apartment, listening to old Christmas songs on the radio. For the first time since selling the house, I felt warm. Maybe this was worth it. Christmas Eve was cold.
Snow dusted the roads, turning everything white and quiet.
I drove slowly, careful not to slide, the gift bag on the passenger seat. As I pulled into Daniel's neighborhood, I noticed the houses were larger than I remembered. New cars.
Bright lights.
Laughter spilling from windows. Daniel's house was glowing. Strings of lights wrapped the porch.
Music drifted through the door.
I smiled. I parked, grabbed my coat and gifts, and walked up the driveway. That's when I noticed something odd. There was a man at the door. Not Daniel. Not Emily.
A stranger.
He wore a blazer and held a clipboard. At first, I thought he was a caterer.
I stepped forward.
"Hi," I said warmly.
Daniel's mother.
The man looked at me, then at the clipboard. "I'm sorry," he said politely. "This is a private event."
I laughed softly, confused.
"Oh, I know," I said. "I'm family." He hesitated.
Are you on the list?
The words didn't make sense. On the list? I repeated. He shifted uncomfortably. I was told to check names.
Just one moment.
He stepped inside. I stood there, snow settling on my coat, still smiling, certain this was a misunderstanding.
The door closed.
Minutes passed. Laughter continued inside. No one came.
I knocked gently.
The door opened again.
This time, Daniel stood there. And everything in my world tilted.
Daniel didn't smile. He didn't look surprised to see me. He looked uncomfortable. "Mom," he said quietly. "I'm here," I said, lifting the gift bag slightly. "Did something happen?" He glanced over his shoulder toward the party. Then back at me. And in that pause, I felt something terrible forming.
Something cold.
Something final. Daniel stood in the doorway, one hand resting on the wooden frame as if blocking the entrance, while I stood there holding my small gift bag, snow slowly settling on my coat, still unable to understand what was happening. I looked past his shoulder and saw the living room glowing with warm lights, a tall Christmas tree decorated perfectly, familiar and unfamiliar faces laughing, glasses raised, music playing softly in the background. I heard my grandchildren's voices. I smelled roasted chicken and cinnamon. Everything felt painfully real, too real for this to be a misunderstanding. I forced a small smile and said, "Daniel, sweetheart, why are you standing there? Aren't you going to let me in?" He swallowed hard and glanced behind him again, then lowered his voice. "Mom, we need to talk." My heart began to race. Talk about what? He kept his hand on the door, not opening it, not closing it, as if he himself was stuck. "Mom, tonight is complicated." I let out a nervous laugh, the kind you make when you do not want to believe what your mind is starting to understand.
Complicated how, Daniel? It's Christmas.
My son sighed, a tired sigh, not the sigh of a boy who once cried in my arms, but of a man annoyed at being inconvenienced. "Mom, this is a private event."
The words hit me like ice water. Private event.
I blinked, certain I had misheard. "What did you say?" Daniel did not meet my eyes anymore. "It's not personal, Mom. We invited friends, colleagues, people from work. It's more of a formal thing." I felt the blood drain from my face.
I am your mother.
"Daniel." I drove through snow to get here.
You called me.
"You said the whole family would be here." He bit his lip. Emily appeared behind him. My daughter looked at me, then quickly looked away. "Mom," she said softly, "maybe this isn't the best time." I turned to her, my voice trembling. "Emily, you think this too?" She did not answer. Another woman stepped into view, Daniel's wife. She wore a polite smile, the kind I had seen many times before, a smile that looked kind but felt cold. "Margaret," she said, We didn't think you'd be comfortable with a big gathering like this. Comfortable. The word almost made me laugh from its absurdity. I had hosted family holidays for over 30 years. I had filled a house with noise and love and chaos. And now I was supposedly not comfortable enough to enter my own son's home. Daniel spoke again, quieter, as if that made it kinder. Mom, it's just for tonight. We didn't want things to be awkward. Awkward for whom? I wanted to ask. For me, or for them? I looked down at the gift bag in my hands. I looked at the bows I had carefully tied in my small rented apartment. I looked at my hands, worn and tired from a lifetime of giving. And in that moment, something devastating became clear. I was not forgotten. I was being excluded. I took a slow breath, unwilling to cry in front of them. Daniel, I sold my house to help you. I never complained. I never asked for anything back. I just wanted to be with my family tonight. My son frowned. Mom, please. This is not the time to bring that up. Not the time.
Not the place. Not appropriate.
All my sacrifices had suddenly become an inconvenience, something embarrassing, something that ruined the mood.
I nodded slowly.
Okay. I understand. I turned away. No one stopped me. No one said wait, come in for a few minutes, at least have some pie.
I walked down the driveway, snow crunching under my shoes. Behind me, the door closed.
The laughter inside continued as if I had never been there at all.
I sat in my car for a long time.
My hands rested on the steering wheel, but I did not start the engine. I stared at the brightly lit house, the house my sacrifice had helped make possible. I remembered every dollar I had given, every phone call asking for help, every promise that things would be okay. And in that moment, a cold truth settled in. I had given them everything, and there was no room left for me in their lives. When I finally drove away, my tears fell silently. Not because I was turned away from a Christmas party, but because I had just been turned away from my own family. I drove home in silence, the snow blurring the road ahead while my hands trembled on the steering wheel. I did not turn on the radio. I did not cry out loud.
I simply drove, replaying Daniel's words over and over in my head.
This is a private event. Not we need to talk later.
Not come back tomorrow.
Not I'm sorry. Just a sentence that quietly erased me. When I reached my apartment, I sat in the car for several minutes before going inside. The building was dark and quiet.
No lights, no music, no laughter.
I unlocked the door and stepped into a space that felt smaller than ever. I placed the gift bag on the kitchen table and stared at it. Scarves I had knitted with aching fingers. A framed photo of my late husband.
A cookbook chosen with care.
All of it suddenly felt foolish. I went to bed still wearing my coat. That night, I dreamed of my old house.
The maple tree.
The kitchen wall with height marks. I woke up before sunrise with my chest tight and my heart heavy, but also with something else rising slowly beneath the pain. Clarity. For the first time since I sold my house, I asked myself a question I had been avoiding.
What happens to me now? I made coffee and sat by the window, watching the snow fall.
I realized I had been so focused on saving my children that I never asked whether they were saving me a place in their lives. Around 10 in the morning, my phone buzzed.
A message from Daniel.
Mom, last night got out of hand.
Let's talk later.
Later. Always later. I typed and erased several responses before finally writing, I'm available now. There was no reply. Hours passed. Then Emily called. Her voice was soft, cautious. Mom, I just wanted to check on you. I asked her one simple question. Why didn't you speak up last night? There was a pause. Then she said something that broke what was left of my illusion. We didn't want to upset Daniel. Not we didn't want to hurt you. Not we didn't know what to do. Just we didn't want to upset him. I thanked her for calling and hung up. In that moment, I understood the hierarchy. Their comfort came first.
My dignity came last.
That afternoon, I walked to the small community center near my apartment. I had seen a flyer about a holiday luncheon for seniors. I almost turned back at the door, embarrassed, ashamed that this was where I belonged now. But I went in. A volunteer smiled warmly and handed me a plate. "Merry Christmas," she said. I sat at a long table with strangers who asked my name, listened to my story, and did not look away when my voice shook. One woman squeezed my hand and said, "You're not alone." I realized something profound. Family is not always who you sacrifice for. Sometimes it is who shows up when you have nothing left to give. In the weeks that followed, I stopped reaching out first. I did not call Daniel. I did not offer help. I focused on rebuilding what I had neglected for years. Myself. I found a part-time job at the local library. I joined a walking group. I laughed again, slowly, cautiously, but genuinely. One evening in February, Daniel finally showed up at my apartment. He looked uncomfortable, uncertain. He sat on the edge of the chair and said, "Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you." I listened quietly. Then I said, "But you did." He tried to explain. The pressure. The guests. The image. I nodded. Then I told him something I had never said out loud. "I sold my house to help you because I believed love meant giving until there was nothing left. But love without respect becomes self-destruction." He looked down. I continued. "I am not asking for apologies anymore. I am setting boundaries." He asked what that meant. I told him it meant I would no longer give what I could not afford to lose. Not money. Not time. Not dignity. Our relationship did not magically heal. But it changed. And so did I. Today, I live modestly. I am careful. I am no longer invisible. I learned that sacrifice should never cost you your place in the world. If you are listening to this and you see yourself in my story, please hear me. Loving your children does not mean erasing yourself. Helping others should not leave you homeless in body or in spirit. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you believe parents deserve respect, not just gratitude. Subscribe for more stories about strength, boundaries, and the courage it takes to choose yourself. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop knocking on doors where you are no longer welcome and build a life where you are.